Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the live stream for, what is it, October 12th? I can't believe it's October already. October 12th, Sunday, October 12th at 4 p.m., which is our standard live stream time. And I welcome all the new viewers and of course to all of my members and subscribers. Thank you for being here. And if you're just a lurker and a casual watcher, well, welcome to you too. Hopefully you'll find something useful here today. We've got a lot of great stuff to cover today. Um, it's been a very, very long week in my part of the woods. Uh, it's I hate to say it, but it's been just frantic with rain around here. Um, I I'll give you kind of an idea of what I mean of just how bad the rain has been. I took a couple of videos so I could kind of show you guys what it was. Let me see if I can get all this to work. For those of you who don't know, I have updated all of my video equipment to new 4K stuff, and I'm trying to make sure this week that I broadcast in 4K, and a lot of my videos will be in 4K going forward. Giving you a little bit better quality videos, making it a little easier to see things. It looked like we were having some, when I zoomed in on things, sometimes we couldn't quite get the detail that I was looking for. So hopefully this week, this is a trial. I am here by myself. My camera crew is not around this week, so but thanks to them for all that they normally do. But this week it is just me. So I'm going to try to keep it simple, but at the same time, I did a lot of changes to the equipment today. I've switched to a Mac. I've gone up to 4K. The camera's broadcasting in 4K. Some of the backgrounds and stuff are still just a high definition, so we won't deal with some of them. But some of this new stuff is really good. So let me start off with showing you just how crazy it has been in the backyard. As you can see here from the solar shed, this is a video taken outside of my front door just yesterday. The rain from these hurricanes are um, just crazy. They have flooded everything. There's been probably a couple feet of storm surge. It's pushed everything right up to the edge. And then, of course, you can see I've got a few neighbors that moved in, a couple of 4 or 5 ducks that have come by. They're after the tadpoles mostly, but they like that bird feeder seed also. So, but this has just been just absolutely crazy, as you can see. And this is, it's starting to dissipate now and go away, and that storm is moving up north. So those of you that are on the East Coast, get ready for it because it's coming. And with it was about a day or two and ahead of schedule. It pushed a bunch of water up on shore. Tide, I noticed, raised, went up probably about 2 feet. So there was about 2 feet of just pushing all that water in line. So we'd drive down the causeways and you'd notice the water was up over the shoreline and onto the sidewalks and stuff. So kind of crazy. And it's like hurricane weather with non-hurricane. They're just offshore. So anyway, I thought I'd kind of share that with you guys and kind of give you I think I've got a couple of photos here too I could show you, but they're more or less the same thing. Um, we take the photos here and you can see the water is just piled up every single where. You can see there the streets are flooded, the backyard is flooded. The poor dogs don't like going out in this thing. And there's a view from standing in my truck and looking down the street. You can see all the way to the river there, and you can tell that the whole thing is completely underwater, and we are up in river sea level, I guess you should say. Anyway, yes, it is Florida, Sam. I'm in the um, uh, Cocoa Beach, Merritt Island. Actually on Merritt Island in Florida. So 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 hopefully we can hopefully this will all go away and we can get on with some more solar projects. So uh, but anyway, welcome to everybody. Let's see, we've got a few comments going on here. Let me just see if I changed all my screens around, so forgive me for any technical difficulties this week, but I think I can actually switch over here to this and bring up the uh, Elvin, hello and hi to you too. Welcome to the channel. Good to see you, and can you do one so you can start mining crypto? Actually, that's a really good idea. A lot of the solar systems that I have are crypto friendly, especially the ones that I built for the solar shed. And I've got a change coming to the solar shed here. I'm going to go over it later on in this live stream, and I'll talk to you about it, and it will kind of give you an idea of what you might need for crypto also, because solar is really made for crypto. So it is a really good, cheap fuel to power all that CPU energy hungry thing. So yeah, absolutely, we will definitely go into that, and I'll point out some things as I go along about that too. Um, Also got Sam as I am. Listen while about to take a not solar heated shower. Yeah, I get that. Hope to be solar powered by next year if the off-grid process after relocating from farm country. um, in the off-grid process. Oh, that's wonderful. I've got some stuff for you later on too. And you'll see some down in the comments too. I've got a new solar class that might be right up your alley, so you might want to take a look at that and see what it is. And I'll go over that in great detail later on and get it. And then Sam, I am also asked, am I in Florida? Yes, I am. I'm in Florida. I am on the what is it? The East Coast, right at about Cape Canaveral area, Cape Canaveral, Cocoa Beach area. I'm actually on Merritt Island, but I'm right on the river, as you can see from those pictures. So it it basically means that I get all of that ugly, nasty weather anyway. So that's but on the bright side, as you can see, I get the ducks. So got the four ducks that are coming along and been hanging out. They've been eating the tadpoles. The crickets have gotten just crazy noisy, but the ducks are there. They are. The ducks are kind of been really kind of a pleasant surprise. And there's about last year there was about 6 or 8 of them that were baby ducks, and this year they've all grown up. So there's a couple of mom and daddy ducks, and then probably 5 or 6 kids still hanging out. So really cool. Um, anyway, it looks like this is actually working pretty good this week, the way I'm switching this back and forth. Alvin is in South Florida also. Good. I'm probably central South Florida. Not, I don't know that I would consider it South Florida, but definitely Central Florida, right at the Cape Canaveral area, right there on that coast. So it makes for an interesting weather sometimes. But those for you folks that are further north, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, and all of that up that coast, that even though that storm never came on shore, the water surge was incredible. A few days before, I was driving over the one of the causeways, and I looked over and I said to my wife, I said, that ain't right. That water is way too high. I mean, we have some, really extra high tides sometimes where the water looks like it's really low, but this was like up at almost ground level. And I'm like, nah, that ain't right. Come to find out, it's the storm surge. So, um, but for the most part, it's beautiful today. Now that it's finally gone, it's the skies are blue again, and we've got some stuff now. I've still got a bajillion gallons of water sitting outside my front door, keeping me from getting to anything except watching some of the stats on my solar system. So anyway, um, let's see what we got here. Peak of Pennsylvania Hill Country here. Ah, the peak up a high areas. Okay. My experience seeing floods or as a child keeps me always weary of flooding, but ducks are cool. Yeah, that was kind of cool. We get a lot of really cool wildlife where I am. A lot of the times and I don't know what a lot of the things are, but I do have an ostrich that runs around. I've got a couple of other animals and things like that. Obviously, the normal squirrels and stuff like that. But there are a couple of really big birds around too. Ones that are protected that have nests and the osprey are probably the most popular ones there. We've got a huge osprey mom and dad that have one of the big pine trees that stick way up in the air, and they've got a really big nest right at the top. And you saw them defending their babies this season from all the other birds, and it was kind of like watching an old World War II movie where birds were coming in trying to get to them. And those osprey can really, really, really fight. Um, and Now there's Elvin. Is it Elvin, right? Elvin. The crocodiles, yeah, that's alligators and crocodiles are the one bad thing kind of going on every now and then. It scares my wife. She's very nervous of the crocodiles and the alligators and all of that kind of stuff getting to the dogs. Because as you can see from that picture that we've got here, and I don't know if I could show that to you again. Let me see if I can bring that up. So you can see from this picture, not that one. Well, maybe I can get to it for this one. That there. So you can see there, I've got that just that little fence there, and we use that when we travel. So we can take that with us, and when we park the RV somewhere, we can just drop a fence outside. The dogs can run out and do their business and come back in. As this starts to subside, though, we'll be able to uh, not have just a little patch of grass that we've elevated right next to the door and let the dogs back out again. Man, it's been ferocious. I really wasn't even expecting it, to be honest with you. Anyway, I do want to, let's see what else we got. I got a little bit of news going on this week. Let me see if I missed anything so far. I tried to because I don't have a crew this week, I tried to give myself a little bit of notes. So you'll see me looking down and reading a little bit this week because I don't want to lose track of things because it running a live stream is not that difficult once you've done it a few times, but I changed so much this week that I was worried that I was gonna skip things. So the nice thing that's going on though is that with all the rain, and we got, I don't know, 18, 20 inches of rain in just a matter of a few days. The good thing is that all my panels got a good free washing this week. I didn't have to do it. Yeah. I don't know that they actually did a good enough job to keep them clean. But while we are waiting for better weather to get back, I do have a little bit of news. And solar news this week, one of the things that I'm finding really interesting out there is the battery market. And there was a lot of predictions about the battery markets being more expensive, about this and that. And I am seeing price drops in 12-volt batteries, in 24-volt batteries, and 48-volt batteries. And 48-volt batteries particularly, there is these MB56 and their 560 amp DIY Jing Zhang, I think is the name of it. Those kits are tearing the market apart. I mean, you're talking $1,800, $1,900 because they can ship them in parts. And then you build the DIY battery, the box yourself, and it's got a JK BMS and the whole thing, but you build it yourself on 2 layers because there's 8 cells on the bottom layer and then 8 cells on the top layer. And I can't wait to build one of these. I'm excited for it. But they're 30 kilowatt hours. They're huge. These are not the kind of batteries you build and then move around the house after you're done. These are the ones you build in place and you are done. But the nice thing is you can stack them 2 or 3 high. They come on roller wheels. I mean, the whole thing. It's just a really fantastic thing that I've been seeing on them, and they are just taking over the market. It's just amazing. Also, in addition to that, obviously, we all know the federal tax credit good through the end of the year. Make sure you get those orders in, get your equipment in, get it installed and running. If you have it operating, my understanding is that you can take that tax credit. Um, um, let's see what else we got here. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about a massive upgrade I've got. I can't show you the upgrade because I wasn't able to do the upgrade. I've got a couple of different things that are halfway done and been kind of cooped up inside for the last week, kind of trying to outlive the rain. So I don't want to. I didn't want to show it to show you a video that's not finished. But let me show you, as I step off screen here to grab a new component that's going to the solar shed here really soon. And you can see this isn't my, yes, it is the Victron Blue. And with an actual intention on the Victron piece of this. And the reason being is that I like the VRM that comes with Victron. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. I did put on the website, if you're interested, you can go out there and you can take a look at the Solar Shed VRM, and you can take a look at the, and I think if I might be able to actually show you guys that. Let me just see if I can get this to work here. So if you go over to the website, as it brings up the website here, you can go into, I think it's under content list. There is new VRMs here. So I've got a Solar Shed VRM now, which should give you access to, well, of course it's broken. Why is it broken? Well, I don't like that. Maybe it's just that one. Let's try the other one. Yeah, that one's working. So there must be something with the Solar Shed that's going on right now. Let me just try it again. Maybe it was just a fluke. There it is. Yeah, so they're here. So I have added these VRMs to from Victron, and this is basically showing you on the right-hand side of your screen the wattage coming in, and on the left-hand side of your screen the shunt that is showing with the charge. Wow, I'm at 53% charge. That's wonderful. I got that burned that down to about 23 this morning. But one of the big enhancements coming is going to be, let me switch back to the big screen so you can see this, and is going to be this new Victron charge controller. And as you can see, this baby is not small, and it is not light like the little ones that they have. This is a Victron 250 volt, 100 amp charge controller. Now this puppy can take the entire Solar Shed. And let's just kind of do some of the, I'm going to see if I can set it here on the, over here where you can see it. And let me just show you, let's just do some of the math that this thing can actually bring in. Because, and if you guys have any questions or anything, please just throw them in the chat. I'm watching the chat here on the screen. This week I can see everything as it happens. At least I hope, at least for now, it's working. And if you have any questions, just let me know. But here, we're talking about, this is a 12-volt system. So it's 13, let's call it 13.2 volts nominal, which basically means we're going to use it for the calculation purposes. You could use 12 volts, you could use 14 volts, but we call it 13.2. We'll put it right there in the middle. At 13.2 and 100 amps, that means that this one can charge 1,320 watts at that voltage. Now, the max is going to be at, let's say 14.2, which would be 1,420. The min is going to be, down in the 11 or 12, which would be 1,100 or 1,200. The Solar Shed has 3,000 watts of panels on it, but the problem with that is a lot of them are mounted vertically, and the 1,000 watts of panels on the roof create 50% of the power, and the 2,000 watts of the power on the sides create 50%. Now, when I installed V2 Solar Shed, if you guys remember, I did the, what I did is I pulled 3 of the panels off, and they were running at around 35 volts. And so I pulled 3 of them off, and because running in series, they would have been over the 100 amp, because I think I used a 100/20 charge controller. And I got a lot of questions about why I was using a 100/20 charge controller as opposed to the one that you've normally seen in the RV. Now, the one in the RV is a 100/35. Now, this one was charging a 48 volt battery though. And a 48 volt battery at 35 amps is a lot more power. Where is my phone? Let me grab my phone real quick so I can do some math. Anyway, so 35 times, let's say, call it 52.3. So this one can charge at this can charge about 1,830 watts, and that's why I had this in the RV. This one came out of the coffee trailer, and it was charging a 24 volt battery in the coffee trailer, which you figure at about 26.2 26.4. What is it? What am I talking about? 26.4 at 20 amps. It was charging about 530 watts, which was perfect for the coffee trailer's 24-volt system. All it was running is freezers, keeping them running overnight every night, and had enough leeway here with a 100 amp hour 24-volt battery to keep that going. So that was the one that I used in the existing solar shed. But what I want to do now is I want to build a bigger bank of batteries. I'm getting a lot of 12-volt battery test in from a lot of different companies, and I want to show you guys some of the bigger batteries that are coming in. But I can't do that with the small charge controller, because this is one of the cool things about Victron, that you don't find this in all the other ones. Almost all of their charge controllers work with the 12-volt system, a 24-volt system, and a 48-volt system, meaning that I can seamlessly upgrade from one to the next without the problem of buying new equipment. So if I've got a inverter that's let's say that's using this or that, I have to upgrade the inverters. But the charger, when I use these chargers, like when I put this one in the RV, regardless if I leave it in the RV, I put it in the food trailer with a 24-volt system, I switch it over to the solar shed with a 12-volt system, it doesn't matter. I can use them on any system. Now, ideally with the solar shed, I would take all of those panels, and I don't know how many of you are familiar with it, but I'll just kind of give you an idea of what it looks like. So the solar shed is basically facing north on this side. This is the doors on this side. So there's no panels there, but there are 3 panels on this side, 3 panels on this side. There are 4 panels on the roof and 2 panels across the back. Now, ideally with a 12-volt system, all of these panels run at about 30 volts. You could put them into any one of these charge controllers and feed that into a battery. But here's where things start getting tricky when you start getting into the higher voltage. When you start getting into a 24-volt system, the 30 or 35 volts that these panels are putting out isn't enough to allow the MPPT to charge them. It's right, well, let me put it on this way. It's right on the border. They say that technically you need 5 volts more than the battery you're charging. But I can tell you that 5 volts will work, but it'll only work while you're at the strongest points of the day. Not because you don't have enough voltage, because there isn't enough room in that small variance for it to really effectively pull enough power out of those panels. So what I did in the solar shed is I tested doing 2 in series, 3 in series, and 4 in series. Ran all the variations. What ended up getting the most power, believe it or not, is, now, when you put them in series, yes, you run the risk if one gets shaded, it affects the other 2, and so on and so forth. So ideally in a 12-volt system, you would take all 12 of these panels and you'd feed them all into a separate charge controller and let them all charge. Now, you could run them parallel and you can share a charge controller to do it. But the problem that I'm going to have doing that is at 30 amps and this putting 250 watts, I could pump in 200 amps of power, and that's not going to be good for the charge controller either. So what I ended up having to do is put them in series. So right now, that series that I have configured is these 3 panels, these 3 panels, these 3 panels, and these 3 panels. And yes, I have this one oddball one here, which is this panel and these 2 back here. Believe it or not, as winter comes around, these south facing, because these are south facing here, north facing here, west facing here, and east facing here. Now, I've got a building over here and an RV over here. So a lot of the times until winter hits and that sun moves from being way over here in the morning and over here at night to being over here in the morning and over here at night, I don't see a lot of power out of these southern panels because they're purely vertical panels. But I'm already seeing a significant difference in the power of these panels during the afternoon. And that's what I'm hoping that you guys can take a look at and have access to through the VRM. And that's why I like the Victron thing. One, because it gives me the VRM without really any extra effort. And two, because it allows me this flexibility of shifting between 12 volt, 24, 48 volt. Now, if I was hooking up a system for my shed tomorrow and I knew I was just going to set it up and that was going to be the end of it, then I wouldn't worry about picking something like this that I can change over and over and over and move around. So I'm going to take this. The intention is to use this in a big 48 volt system where it can take the entire array off of the RV roof and everything and use it instead of the 6000 XP and use this kind of as a backup plan. But it's the perfect opportunity to use this in the solar shed and take all of the power that we have coming in from these 12 panels in the three series 4 parallel system that we got and feed them all directly into this and let it charge the 12 volt batteries, and that will allow me to show you some really cool configurations. So today, what you don't know today is that there are 4 100 amp hour 12 volt batteries running the solar shed. Over the next couple of weeks, this is going to grow quite a bit. And what I want to know is how much can it grow realistically with a system like this, and what can it really power? Do we need to, and then we can also then change this to running these in series into a 24 volt system and do the whole test again and play around with it and kind of see what really is ideal for your situation. Now, I know that was a lot of hoopla around what's coming and what's going on. I do want to look and make sure that I didn't miss anything here. So this being, and I'll include a link to this. It's available on Signature Solar down below, and you can get $50 off on the order here. And they've got all kinds of discounts going. But it does have, 250 volt input and 100 amps output, basically from 12 to 24 to 48 volt change, which is kind of cool. It's got Victron, not Victron, it's got Bluetooth, which is nice because you can connect to it directly if you don't have a system. Now, I use the Venus OS. I don't use for my, let me show you this again. So for the VRMs here, and I think I can log directly into the VRM. Yeah, here's the VRM. And this is basically allows me to see the same thing that you're seeing on that site. And I can go into each one of these dashboards and I can say, okay, I've got the solar shed here, and I've got, oh, excuse me, that's the RV, and then I've got the solar shed here. So this allows me to get in. Now, these are the same stats that you have access to through the website. The only difference is here I've got a little bit more details. I was kind of surprised they don't let me share more of the details and kind of have a real public-facing type summary. This is the best they do. Let me find my comments. I see one out there. I just want to make sure I know how to make it work. I think that did it. Let's just double check. Okay, so the VRM MPPT 200 handles all 12 volt, 24 volt, and 48 volt without hurting the charging. I'm not sure what you mean by it handles all of them. It can be used with a 12 volt system. So the way Victron devices work, this is kind of cool. So you take the battery and you hook that up first, and you turn it on, and then you can go in through the configuration. And I don't know if I can show you the configuration here. Let me see if I can get to that. Remote console. I might be able to get to it and show it to you. I might not. We'll try. But you can go in and you set the charge controller here. And you go in and you set, so you can see here I got 82 volts coming in. I got a battery with 53 volts. But I can also go into settings. And I need battery settings. General. Don't see it here. User install maybe? Yeah, it figures. But you can go into the app and then tell it, hey, I'm going to be charging a 12 volt battery, I'm going to be charging a 24 volt battery, or I'm going to be charging a 48. It doesn't work on all of them at the same time. You do have to pick which one you want. But the cool part is that you can take the shed, for example, or whatever you're doing, and you can upgrade it from a 12 volt to 24 volt without replacing that piece of equipment. That's always one of the concerns I hear from people is I'm building this now, but I want a simple system. It's just going to charge the batteries in my weed whacker and my lawnmower. And then as soon as they build that, they decide they want to upgrade, and now they're like, well, now what do I have to do? And I'm like, well, most cases you have to replace all the equipment because you got to get a new charge controller because it only works with a 12 volt battery. You got to get a new inverter because it only works with a 12 volt battery, and so on and so forth. That's the kind of the cool part about these Victron charge controllers is they work with all three voltages. And so when you upgrade from a 12 volt to a 24 volt, you basically disconnect everything. You connect the 24 volt battery. You turn this on first. You let the power come in. You log in through Bluetooth. You set the setting to, hey, it's a 24 volt battery. You want to charge at 24 volts, which it would sense if you did that. And then you can then turn the PV on and start charging the battery and everything like that. Now, you want to make sure that you set it first. Don't tell it it's a 48 volt. Don't have it set to 48 volts. Connect to a 12 volt battery and turn that PV on, or you'll have a very bad day, or your battery will have a very, very bad day. Let me get back to that thing, see what you said here. Hurting, I meant by not affecting the charge loss from letting, say, a couple solar panels getting hit by the sun and others not. Well, now that gets into a series parallel type question. If you have panels running in series, and what I mean by that is if you take two panels and you, let's say 35 volt, 30, let's call it 30 volts. So 30 volts isn't enough to connect each one of these to a charge controller for a 20 volt battery because there isn't really enough extra voltage there. When you're charging, you need more voltage than the battery itself. On any Victron, you're going to need more voltage. So you might have to connect these in series, and then that would connect like this to your charge controller. So this would be your positive, this would be your negative, and they're connected in series, and thus you would be charging now with 60 volts because you'd have two of these together. In this case, yes, you do end up with shading issues. In other words, if, whoops, and I'm not showing you guys the right screen, sorry about that. So in this case, if you hook these two in series like this, the positive, negative, you'd send 60 volts to the charge controller, but you wouldn't be you would be affected by shade. So if this one got shade, it would affect that one also. But and so that's kind of one of the upsides and the downsides to larger voltages. Yes, you can charge, you can send twice as much with the same charge controller to a 24 volt battery, and then again 4 times as much to a 48 volt battery. But you have to build a string of solar panels that's big enough to activate it. Now, for example, my 6000 XP all-in-one, it needs 120 volts to turn on. Wow, that is lousy handwriting. 120 volts. It can operate up to 400 volts, but that means that if I hook one panel to it, it does nothing. If I hook 2 panels to it, it does nothing. If I hook 3 panels to it, depending on how big the panels are, if they're 30 volts, it does nothing. If I hook 4 panels to it, it might turn on and go off and on at 120 volts here and there because you're going to be right at 120 volts. So technically I need 4 panels in series in order to get up over the 120 volts. Now, my RV runs on 5 panels. And with 5 panels, you get up over that threshold pretty easily. Let's see if I can show you that one. So we go over here to the, oh, I didn't pull it up yet. Let me just grab the Home Assistant here and kind of show you. Try that again. This Apple's still kind of throwing me off here and there. So if I come over here, you can see here, RV PV1 and PV RV front. That's the front and the back half of my RV, and that has 5 370 watt Aptos panels on them in each of those series. Now, I did originally have them hooked up in 10 in series, and it worked just fine with the charge controller because it could take the voltage of the 360 volts or whatever it is. The problem was that I had shading problems. The first trip outside of the state, we pulled into an RV park, and there's a branch shading the front 2 panels of the RV. And those 2 panels killed the solar production of all 10 panels on the RV. So right then and there at that park, I climbed up on the roof and separated them into 2 panels. And fortunately, I had the foresight to put 2 leads going down into the RV, and I could just feed them to the 2 PVs there. So yes, it does to a certain extent help, but you still have to deal with shading. You still have to deal with splitting them up. Ideally, you would have them in as small of groups as you can. So ideally, let's talk about ideally. A 12 volt system like the Solar Shed, ideally I'd have 12 different controllers controlling 12 different panels feeding all into the same battery. So you can run charge controllers in parallel. It's DC power. You can almost always run it in parallel when you're talking DC power. AC power is a different situation, but DC power, you can almost always run it in parallel. So you can have 2 chargers, 3 chargers, 4 chargers, however you want. But you can also run the panels in parallel. You can feed in half the power from one set of panels and half the power from another set of panels and run it in, build you a second set of panels here like this and run it in parallel to that, and it would still be 2. You'd be still, both of them would be 60 volts, but both of them would have twice it would have the same amperage and not the voltage. The voltage would double and the amperage wouldn't, thus giving you the same amount of power, except in shading situations. And I hope that was clear, and I know that was kind of a confusing answer, so please let me know if I muddied the water a little bit on that one. But as you can see here, the RV has that, and this third one over here on the very far right, this is the Solar Shed. So that's the remaining 9 panels on the Solar Shed that aren't being fed in to the 12 volt system in the Solar Shed. Because remember I said I was running 3 panels on the Solar Shed, all independently running parallel. So they're, instead of being 30, 60, 90 run in series, 90 volts for, let's call it 10 amps, it is 30 volts for 30 amps. So the amperage goes up significantly, and that's what you have to watch when you start running things in parallel. That is why on a 12 volt system here, I still won't be able to run all 12 panels in parallel because the amperage would continue to add up. And let's say that each panel is 250 watts, and let's say that it was running at 25 volts. That would mean that each panel is running at 10 amps. That's why I picked 25 volts, because it was easy to do the math. But that means that if I hook up 10 panels, and in this case it's 12 panels, let's do that. Let me just put this up on the board so that it's not too confusing. Let me switch to this description here. Okay. So that means that if I have 12 panels at 25 volts and each panel is running at 10 amps, that means I am running at 120 amps of input. Now, I don't know about you, but I have not seen a single MC4 connector or anything, or even a PV wire that can support 120 amps. So this is where hooking them up like that is the most ideal situation, and would be most likely, if you needed to hook them up that way to get rid of all shading issues, then you would need to go with multiple controllers. And that's where you'd go with some of these smaller controllers. You can get these at 60 volts and in 10 amps and 20 amps, 15 amps. And so you could go with multiple. But if you wanted to use one big one like this one here, then get that off the screen. Oh, I see. Huh. If you wanted to go with one big one, like like this one here, a big 250 volter, then you're going to need to put them in series together. And when you put them in series, then you're going to have to deal with the shading issues, and there's no way around it. Now, that comes with some benefits, though. Let's say that your panels are way out in the middle of your yard, and you're running them from your yard all the way to your house. As we know, the higher the voltage, the less the losses. The easier it is for it to transmit, and the easier it is for it to pull that. Transmit's not the right word. The easier it is for that power to make it from out there to inside without voltage loss. When you got getting down to a 25-watt panel and you put it 100 feet out in the yard, by the time that gets to your house, you may lose 10-15% of that power. But if you run 5 or 10 of those in parallel or in series, that voltage now sitting at 250 volts, it'll easily, just like an extension cord, would easily go 25, 50 yards, and you could plug it in and get the voltage out of it. Now, would there be some loss? Yeah, there would be some loss. So you still have to pay attention to that, but it wouldn't be anywhere near what it would be with one panel. So ideally, you would hook it up like this. Practically, it's not practical. And it used to be, not even just a few years ago, you would see people hooking up RVs and they would have 2 or 3 panels at the top and they were all paralleled. It's just recently got to the point that the larger voltage and the running these in series has really become popular. And I think a large portion of that is because the all-in-ones have really pushed it. The 6000 XP has a 120 volt minimum input and a 480 volt maximum, meaning, but you've only got 2 MPPTs and it can support up to 8,000 watts. So in order to get 8,000 watts in there, you're not going to be able to parallel everything. You're going to need to put a big array and run that from outside, run that off of your roof, run that from a yard mount, run that from the panels sitting in the grass in your backyard, whatever the case may be. They're going to need to run for a distance, unless you're using micro inverters, and then that's a whole another game altogether. But this is why I chose this. It's because now I can hook this right into the Victron VRM. I can access it from anywhere. I can take a look at it, and not only that, as you can see from this screen here, on the very far right there, that is a Victron feed coming in for that 70 volts that's right there from the solar shed, from a Victron controller, from the Victron charger. And it's the same one that we were just looking at, this VRM over here. That there is what we're looking at. And that also gives me the shunt, which is what I wanted. But that allows me to feed it into Home Assistant and to use that data that way. Would be nice if, that's all I can see from this screen. Let me flip over here and grab that message. So it says, Elvin says, would be nice if new technology comes up from having to change it from series, like an example you did with the RV front panels, block the sun from branches. There are new panels out that make shading a lot less of an issue. Here is the real problem that I see with them. And this is like anything. the more parts it has, the more problems that you have with it. Solar panels right now are extremely, let me say this, let me reword that a little bit. Most solar panels right now are extremely reliable because there isn't anything but good thick glass covering all of the components, and on the very back you have that little plate, and underneath it you have one set of diodes that just either bypasses the panel or allows the panel to be used. Some of them are split into two parts, and so there may be two diodes in there. Very, very simple. The newer panels are splitting them. The solar panels, they're splitting them into multiple buses and bars and stuff like that, but they're building on those diodes into the, and we're talking bypass diodes, not backflow diodes. The bypass diodes are saying, hey, look, there's shade on this section here, so we're going to skip it. And the power from that section gets skipped, allowing the rest of it to continue. And that's how it is getting around it. The problem is now those diodes are built into all of the panels, and there's multiple of them, and there's that many more pieces of your solar panel system to get to break and to go bad. Is it better is the real question, and I think only time is going to tell. I think we're going to find that no, it's not better, and it's not better for the simple case that when you put that many breakable pieces in a solar panel, and most likely if you get a solar panel that goes bad, it's either the connectors, the wires connectors, or the diodes. Most of the time the actual panel, unless it's got physical damage, didn't go bad. The diode is out or burned out, or or something along those lines. So I think that we're going to find that once those start burning out on these panels, and they're built into the panels where you can't take the glass off, put a new one on, and put it back together. You can buy used panels now, especially broken ones or ones that don't work. And most of the time you can fix them by replacing cables and putting new diodes in. And you got perfectly good panels for almost nothing. People will give them to you when they don't work like that. So what was that you said? Uh, no physical involvements. So if one or few of the diodes gets damaged, then you were screwed. You're not screwed, but let's say they split the panel. Let's talk about that for just a second. So let's say that they split the panel into, so this is like a solar panel, and let's say they split the panel into 8 pieces, and each one of them has a bypass on it. If the diode for this one goes bad, then it either won't bypass this and you have to have sun on the whole thing, or it doesn't do anything and you're totally screwed, or it goes into bypass mode all the time and you never get power from that one again. So yes, you could be screwed, but anytime you do that, in order to get the full power of this, the power has to run from this one to 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 this one and out. The bypass basically says, well, we're going to skip that one and go to here. And that way, because there's shade on that one there, we're just going to skip it, and it bypasses it. And so you can get screwed that way, because if that switch isn't working, and think of it like a switch. The gate says either go this way and go through these panels to get the extra power, or go this way and skip those panels. If it's stuck and it says go this way, then that just never produces power again. But if it's broken where it can't point to either gate and you can't route the power at all, then yeah, you lose the whole panel and it's gone, and you're screwed. So that's my fear is that that's what's going to end up happening, is that we're going to end up with a system where the panels break more frequently than they used to, and they become more fragile and all that. Right now, panels are extremely resilient. I mean, I can't even tell you some of the crazy things I've had happen. I dropped one off of an RV. I've walked over them. I've had them fall in storms and hit and smash up against things. They are extremely resilient, but as they make them more fragile, that's going to stop. And you got to remember, these panels sit outside. They get storms. They get hit by rain. They get hit by hail. Are they golf ball resilient? No, they're not golf ball resilient. But they are pretty resilient right then at this point. I mean, I've seen people roll generators over the top of them. I've grabbed them before by the wires hanging out of the back, and kept them from falling. So that they are very, very resilient. But um, that's 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 kind of my feeling on that, but there's no way around it. So ideally, you have one controller, one panel, you feed all the power in that way. But you have to stick with either really big panels in order to have enough voltage coming out of it to make it work, or you have to start running them in series, and then you have to deal with shading issues, and then you can only parallel so many of them, so then it depends on how big it is. For the solar shed, we are running right now 3 in series, 4 in parallel. I have done tests on 2 in series and 6 in parallel. I've done 4 in series and 3 in parallel. I've done 12 in series. I've done all kinds of different setups. This one and the 4 in series, 3 in parallel, they come out the best. I think between the 3 in series and 4 in series, the big difference is when the sun's in the right spot for whichever one's hitting, that one produces the most. This one does really good in the summer. This one does really good in the winter, or at least that's what I suspect is happening at this point, because it's shifting from where this one was getting a slight bit more power to this one's getting a lot more power. The panels that are feeding the solar shed right now are on that backside. That as that sun shifts going south as the winter starts to come in, is just enormously dramatically changing the production that I've got from that. Um, so anyway, um, there are a couple of other really big benefits to the Victron ones. The one I like about it is their noise is very, very low. This has no fan. It has a really huge heat sink on the back. I don't know if oh yeah, that you can see that pretty good from there. Thank goodness for 4K this week, huh? So you can see there, it's got a huge heat sink on the back here where the air flows across this. So you mount this vertically like this, and then that air travels. I'm sorry, this thing is super heavy. That air travels up through, I got it upside down too, up from the bottom, up behind it, and goes out. Now, I've not really had to hook up a fan. I did have to hook up a fan on one of them that was in a really hot environment, and just kind of light wind that just blew up like this and hit the back and then would do it, but not one of the big ones like this. But these things are completely silent, and I think the efficiency on it is 98%. Now, one of the coolest things that I like about these is that the efficiency, even when they do get hot, they don't just stop working. They don't just shut down like a lot of inverters do, or a lot of charge controllers do. They actually just get a little less efficient, and they dissipate some of that heat that way and take care of it that way. So hopefully that, now, comparing, there was one of the things I wrote down on my notes here was to compare this to some of the other controllers, some of the other charge controllers. And I think I covered this, but I want to make sure I stress it. The biggest thing that I like about this, I'm trying to get that comment, there we go. One of the biggest things I like about these is the fact that when I go to upgrade, this can go with me. So this is a great environment for somebody who's building anything that has any water. They're also they got certifications for wet environments like boats. If your shed isn't completely and totally dry like mine this week, feels like it's on a boat. They do have different certifications for grounding and things like that is really good, because you can, as you know from working with RVs and stuff, sometimes when you hook up things like 6000 XPs or their 3000 the EG4 3000 inverters, you don't really have a clear path on grounding, and grounding can be very tricky and very, very detrimental to life when you don't do it right, or it can just be outright dangerous. So these all cover that. I think that's probably about everything I wanted to cover on that. And need to go over here and check the comments again. Okay, so um, all right, so I want to go into one of the things that you will find in the links below is I have gotten a tremendous amount of requests lately um, for talking about just how complicated when you get started it is um, for solar. So one of the things that was requested, and it's it's confusing to deal with different voltages. People get nervous when they're starting to deal with AC power and DC power and fuses and wire sizes and so on and so forth. And there's a ton and ton of videos out there. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm one of them. I've put out over 100 videos on this exact subject, and there's probably another 10 people put out another 100 videos easily. Um, but there's tons and tons of videos out there. But the one thing that I always get the request for is that all the content is not in one place. So what I've done is I have created, and I'm announcing this today officially. There'll be a nice outline video coming out over the next couple of days about this. But I'm launching what I'm calling the DIY solar class. And what I'm doing is I'm going back through the solar systems that we've built, and I'm putting together in a class from beginning to end, step by step, the different pieces of the solar system that each of us will need, from sizing the system to batteries to charge controllers to the difference in the 12 volts, the 24 volts, to the wires, to lugs, to everything that you're going to need to install a system on your own. In addition to that, I've put together a lot of diagrams and I've bundled this together with some helpful um, helpful tools like one-on-one sessions to go over your plans with you, a community of other DIYers that are in the same program, in the same class together, and we're all going to work on our systems together, and we're all going to build them up together. This is probably one of the most requested items that I've had, and I couldn't come up with a good way to put it into a good class that everyone's done. So I'm launching it's an entire platform, a whole entire series of videos. A lot of the content is covered on my YouTube channel. And if you're getting what you need from the YouTube channel, then you're great. I am not changing what I'm doing with the YouTube channel. This is for those of you who are looking to understand in a little bit more step by step, get the plans that you want reviewed, get a set of plans that I provide as a default start for a 12 volt system, for a 24 volt system, for a 48 volt system. Take it and make modifications to it. Have a one-on-one session to where we review it and go through it. And then also have a group session every couple of weeks where we can do QAs. Instead of a live stream like this would be much more of a Zoom call where each of us have that face-to-face ability to talk and say, here's the problems I'm having and here's the issues I want. You get the Q&A sessions for a period of like 6 months. You've got the one-on-one hour session that's included from my consultations off of my website. All of this wrapped into one package, and I'm going to be launching it at the beginning of the year. It will allow those users who want to build a system and just don't have that comfort level, or have a system and want to upgrade it and want more details and much more live help on that system, to basically get that help and work with me and work with others that are in the same boat and take that time face to face and do it. I thought about building a system where I would actually provide my physical presence with you to help you build things out and stuff like that, but I couldn't figure out a way to do that, a practical way to do that. So this was the next best thing, is a total class. Now I will keep you, when you sign up for this class, And all founding members between now and the first of the year that sign up for it, because it launches on January 1st. When you sign up for this class, you get half off the class between now and then, and that's the founding members, and those founding members will have a lifetime membership to the class. You'll be able to go back and get the content at any time. Now, this content will remain up to date as new inverters come out, as new technology comes out, as new batteries come out, as new battery types, as new technology that we have with solar panels. I will keep this content up to date so that once you're a member and you get in on that founding member price, then you can come back and use that content. Now, you do get the actual online community and everything. That is for a period of 6 months, so you won't have that forever. But that's really to get your system set up and to get you up and thing. There'll be that will kind of help everyone out. Now I see there's a couple of questions here. Let me just make sure. Sam, I'm not sure. You're still here. Much appreciated. That'll be great. I don't know exactly what you were referring to. Unfortunately, I talked too long between looking at the questions before I did it. I am 99% the class is for me. William, Robert Williamson. That's interesting. Robert and William at the same time. I called you William. Sorry, I got a friend whose name is Robert. And he goes by William. 99%, yeah. It's a great time because you basically get it for half price. So I'm gonna sell the initial founding members, get them sold, get them in board. You're going to get some sneak peeks between now and the first of the year. I'll get you involved in the community, get everything set up. You may even get to give me some advice on what pieces that you would like to see different as I completely build out the website that's going to run all of this. I will be using an environment, a schooling environment that will allow, it's a professionally purchased one that I'll put all the courses in. It'll have the communities in there and all of this content with diagrams and everything. So you will be able to take those diagrams and either A, execute them step by step if you want a 12-volt solar system in your shed to power X, Y, and Z, or you'll be able to modify them and send that feedback back to me or talk to the community and have me and you work together to get it just exactly what you want. I know, by the way, there was a duck that went to World War II from the Marine Corps and had some medals and himself fought Japanese roosters. You know, I kind of remember that duck, but I don't remember the name of it. Just recently, Sam, I just recently discovered your channel. Well, Sam, welcome to the channel. I hope you're enjoying it so far. You've joined at a really good time, and I did want to go back to the. This has probably been one of the most requested things that I've had is that people want to do this themselves, and I want to help them myself, and I've put out video after video after video, but what they want is they want it chronologically in order. They want a class that they can sit down with plans that they can take and that they can build the solar system that matches the need, and then have somebody that they can refer to, ask questions, and safely build the system and understand, well, if I do this, will it cause problems or like that. Now, the simple fact is, I'm not an electrician. But basically, I'm showing you what I would do and how I would do it. So please don't take this to mean you're going to come out of this being a solar installer. You're not going to be a solar installer. This is for your personal use, for your understanding of how solar works, for you to take a shortcut from all the things that just caused me headache after headache and expense after expense, and shortcut that. Get you into the solar, get you to understand what it is, and have you join the fun and build a community where we can all chat, talk, help each other out, and understand what's going on, and then keep up with the new technology as time goes by. That's kind of what it is. It'll save you the time, it'll save you the money, it'll save you all those problems that I had, and then it'll provide you a lifetime of access to videos and diagrams as the world changes. You may not have access forever to the Q&A or obviously the one-on-one is a one-off 1 hour. You can always buy additional hours of time if you do need them, but you can also get to me in the community anytime. I will give that, obviously that class is going to have the preferential treatment to getting responses and stuff like that. The way I see it is when somebody joins, what I look forward to is that they take the diagrams that I have and they are able uh, to review what they have, find the one that matches the system that they want to build, whether that's a shed, or whether that's they want to take their house off grid, or whether they just wanted to build an emergency backup sub panel in their house. Take the system starting point and then adapt it and understand what it takes to adapt to match their needs specifically. Be able to send that over to me and get a review. For me to say, hey, you know, I learned that you probably want to try this here, or you probably want to try that here, or make sure you add this to your parts list, or take this from your parts list off because you won't need it anymore, so that you're not ordering things that you don't need. Or in some cases, I know I had one person that built a solar system based on all of the videos that they saw on my website, and they ordered a couple of things that I had demonstrated and showed how they worked, but they weren't part of my actual RV. And so I felt really bad when I got in the one-on-one and they're talking about, well, we need to hook this up. And I'm like, where are you going to hook that up? And they're like, well, you have one, don't you? And I'm like, no, I don't have one. So this class, that's where we're trying to avoid, is give that way for you to take those plans, adapt them to what you want, and then send them over. We talk about them, we get them the way we want. Maybe at that point you take your one-on-one hour, we talk about the different ways you can set it up, the ups and downs, the things that you need to watch out for, where you can order them, where you can get the best prices, what are the best deals, and so on and so forth. And make sure that we get the right company for what your needs are in your part of the country, or your country in some cases. I know we have a lot of viewers from over in Australia, from over in France and Germany and Canada, and some even from the South Americans. So for all of you too, we can find you the right people to do them. But the idea here is to leapfrog all that, is to put it all in a nice chronological way which you can take care of it. So I want to go into, I did pick up a couple of questions from folks. So I want to jump to some of those questions that are not showing up here. Ireland, there we go. So there we go, good. Fellow Irishman, I'm sorry, I know I have a bunch of Irish in my background, but that's about as much as I know about it, unfortunately. But I would love to come visit the country. I want a castle is what I want. I want one of your castles. So just to live in, and just so that when my neighbors bug me, I can just say, no, you can't touch my solar panels. Go away. That way, when the zombie apocalypse come, I'm really prepared for it. Let me see. So I want to go over some of the questions. Let me see if I can get this to come on. There we go. I got it to come on. Now let me see if I can find a way to actually make it work. Told you this week was kind of my all right, so I gotta find the way to get those questions. Oh, here they are. Okay. Got it. All right, so here are the questions, and we'll just walk through these. And if you have any questions outside of this, or comments, or anything, hey, just put them in the thing. I'm watching. I'll keep an eye on it. So the first one was Mike. Mike asked me, how do I know if the DIY solar class is the right one for me? So Mike, the simple answer here is the DIY solar class is going to have a variety of different systems, and probably tracks is what I'm looking at doing, is devising multiple tracks, like a 12-volt track, a 24-volt track, and a 48-volt track. And there may even be a couple of different options that you can say, this diagram includes a sub panel, this diagram includes the entire house, this diagram includes a shed that's completely off-grid, this one includes an RV that's off-grid, or this one includes an RV that can be plugged in and does a charging, or so on and so forth. So there'll be some options for things like that and stuff like that that we can talk about. So for the most part, if you're looking at anything that is hybrid, off-grid, then this really is for you. There isn't really a whole lot of restriction here. And if you've watched my channel, you've seen me do things from whole house installations and stuff like that to basically little 12-volt solar sheds to portable in a box, carry it around and run my my wife's coffee trailer off of. So it's pretty much for almost everyone. But if you do question if it's for you, then definitely there's an email down below or the comments down below. Just post in the comments if you're watching this on replay, post in the comments what the system is, or send me an email and tell me what you're thinking and ask me directly if it's going to be for you, and I'll be glad to answer that question. But for the most part, I'm going to cover a wide range of systems. It's not going to be just one isolate. There'll be some basic elements that are the same for all of them, and then there'll be specific outtakes for 12 volt, 24 volt. The nice thing about that is if today you're thinking, well, I want to do a 12 volt system, and 6 months from now or 2 years from now you decide you want to do a whole home system, then you still have that content out there. It's all refreshed, it's all kept up to date, and you can go back and get to it and use it then the same way you use it today. Second question was, Sarah B from Arizona asked, can I really build a working solar system? Is that showing up? Oh, yes, it is. Okay. Can I really build a working solar system with no prior experience? And the answer there is yes. I will walk you through what tools you're going to need, what wire sizes, how to make the clamps, where you can get the tools, all of that content in a step-by-step process laid out in a class format. Think of this as a college course on how you build a solar system. If you needed to learn how to build a solar system, you would go to class, you would go to college, and you would do it. So think of this as the same thing. Think of this as a college class. I love teaching. As you know, you've seen my videos. I'm not the kind that puts out the 5-minute video. I'm the kind that puts out the 40-minute video so that you have all the details. But also, I like to make sure that I'm not just blabbing for the sake of blabbing, and that I am giving you what is needed for you to understand what you're doing, not just do what you're doing. I don't want to tell you how to do it and have you do it. I want to explain to you how to do it and why you're doing it that way, so that you understand the next time you go to put on a wire to a Victron, when you go to put on a wire to the Victron 250, 100, that you know what size wire do you put in these lugs to make this safe? How big does the wire need to be? How are you going to connect it there safely so that 100 amps coming out of this on whatever size battery you've got is safe? And that's what I want you to not just tell you. I can tell you the answer. That's not a problem. A lot of those you can look up the answer. But I want you to understand how to get the answer. I'm going to give you the worksheets to calculate the answer and to understand behind it. And then have someone to go back to and say, hey, why am I doing it this way? You left that piece out. Can you help me? And I'll be able to fill in on that one too. So yes, you can definitely use this with no prior experience to build a system. You can be as ambitious as you want, and you can also be as conservative as you like. The class doesn't go away. You have an unlimited amount of time to use the product and to refer back to it. And I'm going to keep it up to date. There's new members will be joining on a regular basis and starting the class anytime. So this isn't a matter of be there on the first and that's the end of it. No, we'll be handling people at different stages all the time. And the bi-weekly Q&As are what's really important to you when you're a new member, because for 6 months, those Q&As, unlike the live stream here. Now, I'll still have my live stream, and then you can always come to a live stream, and you can always ask me questions, even if you're not part of the class. But on a Q&A, that's going to be more like a Zoom call, where you can look me in the face and you can say, hey, Matt, I got this. Can you tell me what that means and how we can hook this up and what we can do? And how that goes. So that's the kind of, just like a classroom environment, that's what you're actually looking for here. So the answer to this question is absolutely yes. You can do this with no prior experience. Matter of fact, those are the fun ones. the people who know the least get the most rewards from doing this, because that first time I had a friend of mine during the last hurricane. I brought over a battery and an inverter, and she was trying to run her fish, the bubbles for her fish, water pump, air pump. There we go, air pump for her fish. And the amount of personal pleasure she got out of knowing that her fish were safe during the hurricane and that they weren't starving for air was enormous. So you get the most people that have no experience, they get the most out of it. And the fact that I love the teaching aspect, that makes it even better. I love giving that information to you. I see more questions over here. What were they going on? New subscriber, I am watching from Texas in hopes to build a rabbit shelter and greenhouse with temperature control. That is a fantastic goal, my urban garden. That is a fantastic goal. There is wonderful, cool outside environment type stuff. You can also use things like the Victron here that have the waterproof stuff, or at least water resistant, and put it in just a covered thing, or put it in a compartment or something like that. That is just a fantastic part. What part of Texas are you? I actually moved from Texas about 12 or 15 years ago. I was in the DFW, the Dallas area, just on the north side. Plano, Garland, Richardson area. I don't know if what part you're from, but Texas has great sun. You've also got Signature Solar right down the street if you're in the northern part, and the shipping there is really quick. So you'll be able to do some really good stuff from that. Austin, okay, so you're a little bit further south than I was. It's a little bit sunnier down there, which is the good thing. You also get a little bit more rain, like I'm suffering through this week with the ducks and everything like that. But yeah, so Austin's a great city. If you're, I don't know how the restrictions are for installing there, but Texas is doing some awesome things with allowing third parties to do inspections on solar systems now and stuff like that even when they're on your house, which is just fantastic. They're really stepping it up, making it happen. So that's really good to know. But welcome. I'm glad that you subscribed. I hope to see you on the thing. See you more as often as possible. We'll be here. Alvin, class sounds good, but unfortunately for me, I need to save for a good system. But when I do, I'll keep you in mind. I will always be here, Alvin, whenever you need it. And in the meantime, if you're not in the class, you could always welcome to come to the live streams and get, whatever time I've got available and all that. I'll be glad to help you out. If you do need a one-on-one, I still do one-on-ones, so you can schedule one of them if you ever need that also. The class is just a really good way for you to have all the content in one place, to have it all nice and organized, to be able to access it, to have direct access to me and others like it. But don't feel bad. The only thing that you have to worry about is that the founding members are getting half price. So it is half price if you pre-register before the end of the year, and then we're going to kick off the new year in grand style. I will launch the entire class with all the content in it, and we will just go all out on it. So it's going to be a fun time. But don't worry about it. Alvin, do what you have to do, and I look forward to talking with you and helping you with your new system as you start to build it. Regardless if you are part of the class or not, part of the class or not. Next question was, does the class cover both 12 volt and 48 volt? It not only covers 12 volt, 48 volt, but in some cases, with some of the new equipment coming out, it may even cover multiple battery systems. I have in my RV, I have 12 volt, 48 volt, and 120 and 240 volt. There's 4 different voltages, and you can run all 4 of them at the same time. So it will cover things like that. And I think I picked up a box on my way out of the house for one of the devices that helped me do that. I just happened to have it here. But this is actually takes a 48 volt system in this case and converts it to 12 volt. And with a combination of these, I was able to completely and totally eliminate the 12-volt batteries out of my RV, but I still have a 12-volt system because, as you know, in most RVs, they power the lights, they power the water pumps, and all kinds of stuff. But either way, does it going to cover both? The answer is absolutely yes. Um, Let me see. I see that. Let me see if I can get to it. Although everything has been working technically this week much better than normal. Let's see if I can turn this on. There is incentives for purchasing some of the parts, but even some municipal districts offer extra things. What am I doing here? Lost my page. There it is. There are incentives for purchasing some of the parts, but even some municipal districts offer extra things too. I really want to protect my animals and plants because we can't control the weather. No, you're absolutely right. You can't control the weather. The new mini splits that are out, and if you're looking for strictly environment controls, the new mini splits, the solar mini splits that are out are just awesome. You combine that with battery backup and a small inverter to run it, and you could easily take care of them. And those mini splits are so efficient. I took out all the mini splits out of my RV and put in took all the mini splits. I took all of the stock air conditioners off of my RV and out because they're noisy and inefficient. But the mini splits are just fantastic. Those things run all day, non-stop, every single day. Matter of fact, I probably could even share some of today's statistics with you. See if this will work here. Can I do that? Yes, I can do that. So you can see here, this is my home assistant that connects directly to my home RV and the solar shed over there on the right. The two in the middle are the panels on the top. But I can come over here and take a look at power usage, and you can see here, oh, I've got the hot water turned off because I've been in conservation mode with the hurricanes passing and stuff. But you can see here, AC in the living room, AC in the bedroom. You know, that is 6.6 kilowatt hours of power from my daily usage today was just those two units. So that, compared to what those original units were, that you can pick up with a couple of solar panels very easily. And you talking about a chicken coop or something, you're not going to need that much power. But you're absolutely right. You can't protect them. You can't protect them from the big ones, but you can protect them from some of the heat and stuff like that. So hopefully, but if I would love to hear more about your system and exactly what you're planning on doing and everything. So keep me up to date. It would be really good. All right, where was I at? I don't even remember anymore. I lost track. Oh, I was answering questions. That's what I was doing. Okay. All right. See if I can find how I was doing that. It's here somewhere. Ah, there it is. Look at that. All right. I switched to Mac this week, guys, or last week, and I also switched to 4K, so the video should be a little bit better. Some of the backgrounds are still running just HD, but the video should be much better going forward. I'm trying to upgrade and give you guys better quality videos, but that means that everything that I'm broadcasting is in 4K this week, and hopefully I'll be able to get some new backgrounds in high def also, in the high def high 4K. Um, Will it will the class teach me how to size panels, batteries for my home? Absolutely. Matter of fact, that is going to be one of the key focuses is to get the system that matches exactly what you're looking for, help you plan out for the future, some worksheets on exactly how to do that. It'll cover that in great detail. But that is going to be one of the basic essentials of planning your system, of understanding what you need, of understanding what you're going to need in the future and how you're going to do that in the future. So absolutely it will. Do I need to buy all my gear before starting the class? No. As a matter of fact, I would suggest don't. Use the class for planning initially to understand what you want to do. If you've got gear and you want to use it, that's not a problem. This is not a one-size-fits-all, go in, start the class and do it. I do hope that someday in the future I'll have a class like that, but that's not today. Today I want to offer a class that you can take where you are right now, whether that is you built a system and you want to upgrade it, or you're just starting off and you don't know how to do it, or you need and you need diagrams to tell you what you need, and then adjust that to your exact needs, and then build that system and go on. Um, so no, you do not have to buy all your equipment before you start the class. As a matter of fact, I would prefer if you don't. Let's work on it and understand what your needs are, because at this point, one of the key things to always remember about solar is you know less today than you will ever know past this point. In other words, you're the least qualified today than you will ever be to build a solar system. And every day from this point, you become more qualified, you understand more, and you may find and make tuning and adjustments and changes. To this day, I still change my system constantly. I still work on different size panel setups and run different tests because of new equipment that comes out and new things that come up. So it always is. The perfect example is the new Victron, 250-100. I saw it sitting there and I'm thinking, wow, that would be kind of cool, the whole solar set up to a 12-volt system and see what we can do with it. Will this help if I'm building a system for my RV instead of a house? Yes. We will specifically cover in the class 12-volt systems, both in RVs and sheds and small house exposures. We will cover 24 volts in that thing, and we will cover larger environments where you're talking about the whole house cabins out in the woods, off-grid completely, to grid-fed type systems also. So absolutely, it will cover all of them. How long will it take to complete the DIY solar class? So the solar class is designed around the 12-week program. As I said before, it's like a college class. It's designed around 12 weeks. It is self-paced, meaning you do not have to stick to a 12-week schedule. There is no requirements for you to do this or to do that. You can take the class at any pace you want. You can, come in knowing half of it, skip the first 5 lessons and go to lesson 6 because you understand all this stuff before. But if you were to take the class from beginning to end, chances are that it would probably take around 12 weeks to get it complete. That would be get the video, learn what you need to do the worksheets, go on to the next video, order the parts, get them in, build it based on that, and then obviously based on shipping and that kind of stuff, you may have some impacts there. But I would say 12 weeks is a good rule of thumb of how long it would take to complete. That's not going to fit everybody. There are people that would consume it and go through it in a couple of weeks. They already have the equipment, they put things together, they already know their sizes, they already have an idea of where they're going. But if you're starting from scratch, I would say probably 12 weeks. And that's not full time, that's not just sit down and do the class. That's work it into a job and work it into your life and still have a life outside of solar. Robert says, is there a class pre-recorded or do I need to show up live? This is a great question. Okay, so the solar class is going to have a couple of different, and I think I've got a list here. Let me see if I can find a list of exactly the key pieces that you need to know about. There are going to be classroom sessions that are recorded. Probably 18 to 20 videos, around that number, of each of the different aspects of the solar system, from inverters to sizing to wires to clamps to so on and so on and so forth. Each one of them will be divided up. There will also be a bi-weekly Q&A where we get together as a class and we go over questions, we go over answers, we look at worksheets, we do planning, we strategize, we come up with what's needed and what's not needed, and any gaps that you have, anything that you want. There is also a one-on-one. I give an hour of one-on-one session to everyone who joins the class, to when you get to that point where you say, okay, I'm ready to take that plunge and I just want to sit down with someone and go over it all and talk it through. That's what I suggest you use the one-on-one for. That is what it's devised for. So The question is the class pre-recorded? Yes. Or do I need to show up live? Some of it is live also. If I end up with a large number of folks from overseas, I will make sure that I accommodate that as well by either expanding those Q&As to have them in two different sets of time zones, or by making sure that I give different special accommodations to those folks that do need it. At this point, I haven't set hours for those Q&As, and I don't know what that will be. I will determine a lot of that based on initial signups and how many different people want to do that. And I think, Robert, I think we're going to lose you. Is that what's going on here? Yes. Robert, thank you for coming. Appreciate you. It's good to have you on board. And we will see you the next time. And sleep good. And I think I've also got one here from Elvin. This is great for hurricane season. A solar shelter is perfect for run essentials like a fridge. Absolutely. The refrigerators is the number one elements that people are looking for when they first get into solar. It's, hey, I can live without all of these things, but I need the essentials. I need to be able to run a fridge. I need to be able to run this. I need to be able to charge my phone. I need to be able to do this. If that's the type of system you're looking for, the class is made for you. It is truly made for you. And let me see if I can switch back to... I'm getting used to the Mac of moving around on the screens and stuff, but I tell you, it's still got a little bit of a difference between IBM user for like 35 years, and I switched to Mac all of a sudden. But I've been very happy with it. It is very nice at this point. Okay, think we answered that. So we're going to move on to Jen from Colorado is asking, what kind of tools do I need to follow along? This is an exceptional question. There will be a section in the class that will go over, but the basic tools, there are some tools that you can get away with not having, and there are some tools that you are just outright better off buying right off the bat, and then there's other tools that you can get that are really either a waste of money or really nice to haves. I will go over in one of the class in one of the sessions on a detailed list of the tools that I absolutely think you should have. Basically, those tools are going to be your basics, like your MC4 connecting clamps and stuff like that. Unless you plan on buying all your cables pre-made and stuff, you're going to want that kind of tool. Your typical screwdrivers and clamps and fittings and all that kind of stuff. So we will go over those tools. So there is some that you're going to want to have, and then there's others that I will save you the time and keep you from buying them. There's thermal scanners, and I mean you can spend thousands and thousands on tools, and to be honest with you, there's probably only a handful that you have to have. There's nicer versions of some of them that if you do a lot of it. For example, I do a lot of cable clamping, so I bought a nice hydraulic clamp. You can get away with a hammer one. You can get away with buying the cables pre-made. As long as you're building, as long as you're building one system, then you really don't have to have all the fancy tools. And I'll tell you which ones that you really need to splurge and get them so that you can do it the right way, and the ones that you can avoid, and the ones you don't want at all, the ones that just sit in the drawer and never get used and are just a waste of money. We'll go through those in great detail. More comments coming in here. Let me turn this off, turn this on. William says, I have a whole camper with everything ready to build. Do I bring it with me? Absolutely, bring it with you. That would be, absolutely fantastic. That way you've got an outline of the parts that you already have, what you need. We can match that up to your RV, make sure that the sizes and everything overlap exactly right. You'll be surprised how many people, when they're dealing with RVs, don't understand that some RVs are 120 power, some are 240 power. They get in, they think they're the same thing, and they're not. So there's a lot of little things like that. They've got 12-volt systems, some's got 24-volt systems. So we can take all of that and put those into diagrams and make sure that you understand what you're getting into and build it out. And then when you have those questions, we'll have all that data there for us to answer those questions and go through it in great detail and understand. So absolutely, bring it with you, outline it, and take it to the class, and we'll take care of it that way. 48 volt to 12 volt. I'm getting rid of my 12 volt batteries in my converter. 12 volt installed 248 12 volt inverter panel. Yes, I did exactly the same thing. I installed two of the Orion. I don't know if you can see this. Let me go back to that screen. This one here. I installed two of these Orion converter TRs. These are take 48 volt. They take 48 volt and convert it to 12 volt, and they're 30 amps a piece. And my converter was a 50 amp converter, so I put two of these in, and I used some of those cheap ones, and I've got a video off of this. If you go back and look through the history of my videos, you can find it. There's a picture of this on the screen, and it shows next to it those little cheap ones you get off of Amazon. And it shows me actually installing 8 of those, attempting it to handle the computers and stuff from the levels and all that, and they couldn't do it. This completely allowed me. I have not had a 12 volt system in my RV since I installed these over a year ago. All my 12 volt stuff is connected directly to my 48 volt battery with these. Now they're pricey. I think they're $200 a piece, 201 if I remember correctly, and it's amazing how well Victron controls their pricing. They're $201 a piece, but batteries are gone. Would I do it again? I honestly don't know. I think with a small 12 volt lithium battery, you could probably get away with not even having this. And I could probably do it some other way with maybe a charger coming off the 48 volt battery. But to be honest with you, it's water under the bridge now. It works really well. So if that's what you're interested in, then yeah, absolutely. And Daniel says, yes, it's exactly the same one. They work perfectly. You'll be very, very happy. These Victron Orions are fantastic. They are really, really good equipment. And like I said, I tried a lot of the other brands, and there's a whole variety of super cheap ones on Amazon, all the way up to what I call the top of the line, the Victron Orions. And I tried a couple of the ones in the middle. Nothing would work to keep that computer from rebooting from that surge of a slide in going in or out, with the exception of either A, having a battery on the line, or B, having the Victrons. I could get away with one of them. It actually worked, but it was a little sluggish, so I went ahead and put a second one in just to cover it. All right. Don't remember where I was. Lost track again. All right, so here we go. Questions, back to the questions. All right, David P. asked, does the class go over wire safety and grounding? Yes. Yes, it does. It goes over grounding, and I think I had a person write me that didn't make it on this list. He wrote me late asking about grounding. Grounding is a very, very tricky subject, but I want you to think of it this way. If you have, and maybe I can draw this up on the board. This may be a good thing to draw up on the board. So I'm going to take a little bit of a break and talk grounding for a few minutes. And for some of you, this will be extremely boring. And for some of you, you'll be like, oh, great, we're going to do grounding. I want to stress that grounding, there are 1,000 different opinions out there, and there are 1,000 different ways to do it right. There are 1,000 different ways to do it wrong. I am giving you my opinions. I am not an electrician. This is what I would do and how I would handle it. So take that with a grain of salt. At the same time, I want you to understand that grounding is very important. If you have skipped it, go back and redo it, because it is really super important. So I want to go over the basic concept of how I understand grounding. And if you are an electrician and you see this and you don't like what you see, please educate me. I would love to hear about it. So let's talk about grounding. Let's talk about, you have a negative post and a positive post. Now, These posts can be either from a battery, or it can be coming from the, and I'm going to write on the board here, grounding. That way people who join us late can see that that's what we're talking about. Oh, the question's still on the board too, so that probably would be okay. Just make sure I got the right screens up here so that everybody can see, and I do. Okay, good. So grounding, and I want you to think of electricity like this. Electricity flows out of the positive, and I'm going to try to draw a light bulb here, and into a light bulb, and then it flows, the used electricity flows out of the light bulb and back to the battery, completing the circuit. So the electricity flows this way. And I want you to think of it as this is the potential of how much electricity can flow is on this side. So if you have a 20 amp circuit, you're going to allow for up to 20 amps to flow through before the circuit breaks and just shuts off and stops it. But what comes back this way is the used electricity. And used electricity means that it still has the voltage and it's still there, but it no longer has the power. Now you could stick another light bulb in the middle here and split this power into two, but we're not talking about that right now. I'm just going to explain the grounding, and I'm getting there, but it's kind of a complicated subject, so I want to go through some of the basics of what it is before we get there. So a GFI plug, GFI, is it GFI or GFIC? What do they call them? Ground fault, GFCI, ground fault circuit, GFCI. Never can remember the name of those when I need them. Look up a ground. I know it's ground fault circuit. Okay. So a GFCI is all about grounding and controlling that. So here's what's happening. Let's say that you have, and I need a green marker now. Now let's say you have a ground over here. And this ground is connected to the frame of your RV or your house, or the wire in the receptacle, which is connected to the box of your receptacle. Everything that is not part of the return or part of this. Keeping in mind, the positive and the negative have power flowing through them. Used power, unused power, but power. In other words, the potential to cause problems exists. So you want to make sure that your ground isn't part of the regular circuit. And this is where people get off on saying, well, I'll just connect it to the ground, and so instead of the power going this way, it goes this way. Meaning it's flowing through your RV, it's flowing through your receptacle box, it's flowing through the pipes in your bathtub, and so on and so forth. This is why you always hear one grounding source. And that is in the main panel, or the first panel, after it comes in from the grid, or the generator, or wherever your power is coming from. In some cases, that is your inverter, in the case of some inverters. So your ground should connect to this, but here at the source, not here, not here, not here, not somewhere else in some other receptacle. It's certainly not here and here. It should be in one place, and it should be all the way back at the very, very beginning to connect them. And here's why. If you take a meter and you measure from here to here, it will show you 120 volts. We're going to say it's 120 volts. If you take a meter and you measure from here to here, it may show it may show 1 volt. Now, what is it telling you when it shows the 1 volt? It is showing you that between here and here, there is a difference of 1 volt. Now, this is very useful when you're hooking up a solar system because you can put it on any 2 points in the positive. You can measure from here to here, and you may show 120 millivolts, meaning there's 120 millivolts of voltage drop between this point and this point. The same as there's 120 volts between this point and this point. This being 0, this being a positive 120, this being 0, this being a positive 120 millivolts. This being 0 and this being 1 volt would mean that there's 1 volt of loss. This allows you to look at cables and say, if I put it at the beginning of this cable and the end of this cable and measured across them, what is the loss? What is the loss of voltage from where I connect this to the battery to where I connect it here? Now, here's where this gets really important. GFI is looking at every watt that goes out has to come back through this connection. And when it don't come back through this connection, it goes click and shuts off. That means if any of this power goes back through this negative or this green wire back through the ground, that what it's saying is, hey, maybe somebody touched a wire and went to the ground. Maybe it went to this ground. Maybe it went into the real ground. Maybe it went to a pipe. Maybe someone threw a toaster in maybe someone threw a toaster in a bathtub and it went down the pipes into the ground, the real ground. But not all of the electricity that left the battery or left this GFI tester here made it back in a used form. So this is why if your ground is connected in multiple places, even if you touch this wire at the wrong spot, there is a difference in voltage. And if that loss is 20 volts or 30 volts, then that means that this can be 60 volts. And if it's 60 volts, then it can be dangerous. Now, looking at the grounding piece of it, you want, when something goes wrong, you want that power to temporarily have a safe route back to here. And that would be, and you also want, if you accidentally touch a positive wire to the RV, you don't want the power just flowing through the RV and going back and everything being okay. You want it to short circuit and stop. Because if you're holding one side of it and you touch the RV with this hand, that power is going to go through you. And that's where the ground goes back this way and shut the whole thing down and gives it a route out. So that's why grounding is so important, that it only connects back here so that all the power that gets used goes back this way. In a normal case, it doesn't go through the frame of your RV, doesn't go through the green open copper wires in your house. None of that power goes through that except when something's going wrong. The reason the ground is hooked to the box inside your electrical thing is so that if you did touch that with a positive wire, instead of it just becoming a part of the positive wire, it shorts out and stops the whole circuit and shuts it down. The circuit breaker pops. And that's why it's there. It's made to cause it to pop the breaker. It's there to prevent that box from when if you ever touch something and you got that little tingly shock, that's because it's not grounded. If it was grounded, it would have shorted out and it wouldn't have tingled you because it wouldn't have remained on because it would have popped the breaker as soon as you plugged it in. But it wasn't grounded and it turned
This turned the metal box that it's connected to, let's say that the metal box is here. So because this metal box is not connected to the ground, when the positive wire touched it, whoops, when the positive wire touched it, the box became a positive wire. Now, anytime you touch that box, if you've got any ground connection somewhere, it can shock you. But if this was connected to the ground from the beginning, like this, as soon as you turn that light on, that power connects to the box connects to the ground, the power flows back this way, and the breaker goes, whoa, and stops everything. And no longer allows you to touch this box and feel that current, no longer allows you to have that. The reason they put it only in one place isn't because it doesn't give it an alternate route. It's because they don't want power flowing through this alternative path unless something is wrong. Theoretically, the difference between here and here should be 0 volts, and that's why you connect them together. So that when you run a meter from the negative over here to the positive over there, it should show 0. This to this should show 0 volts, 0 millivolts, should show 0 all the way around. But that's why it's connected, so that it is zeroed out, so that that difference between them, that potential difference, is made 0. Because if you don't connect them, then you can still have a 2, 3, 4, 5 volt difference, and you can touch a ground wire and get shocked. But as soon as you connect the ground wire and the negative wire, then that numbs that 0 out, they become the same, and then you only want the bad things to flow through the ground, not your normal voltage. So that's why grounding. I don't even remember the original question. Does the class go over wire safety and grounding? And I had another question from an online user. That is why you would want to deal with your grounding. Same thing's true with your solar panels. You have solar panels hooked up on the roof of your RV. Those should all be connected together. They should all run down in a safe path back to the ground within the inverter, so that when you go up on the top of your RV and you touch one of those panels, if there's accidental power running from those panels, that instead of it going into you and shocking you, as soon as you turn on the inverter, it goes, hold on a minute, I got a PV fault protection here, and it shuts off. And it says, no, the power this is generating isn't the power it's supposed to be. The negative and the positive flows are not right. Something's wrong. And it stops and it shuts off. Or it pops a fuse or a breaker or something. That's the idea behind the ground. The ground is a safety feature. In conjunction with the GFCI measuring the in and the out, the ground gives it that alternative path. But if that alternative path leads back to here, then you'll start seeing, and everyone's had that one wall plug that you plug something into, and that stupid GFI plug pops over and over and over and over, and you wonder why. Well, this is why it's so hard to find, because green or open copper wires are the ground. They're used for emergencies, not for negative connections. They are not your path back to here. Your path back to here should be the right wire, black or white, depending on if you're DC or AC or whatever. It should only be your negative wire. And green and copper wire should only be used in emergency cases. I hope that makes it a little bit more clear. And it is a really tough scenario, and there is a lot of differences between should I use grounding rods, or should I use bond it? Should I not bond? Blah, blah, blah. The fact is, you should have it bonded in one place. This ground and this negative should be connected in one place. And if you don't have a ground, then yes, you may need a grounding rod. But then you also need to look at the manufacturer equipment that you're dealing with. Some equipment, Victron namely, has very specific ways that you ground it. So do EG4. So do most inverters and all of them. There is very specific sections in there that tell you, you ground this like this. This needs to be grounded this way. This needs to have this. This needs to not be grounded. This needs, in this scenario, needs to do this. Those, and these are, the Victron ones are the best because they're certified for off-grid, boat, RV type stuff, so that you get a very specific answer of exactly how it should be done. Anyway, I know that was a soapbox. It was very complicated, but that's the nature of grounding is very complicated. And there is no one right answer other than the easiest way to remember it is there should be only one way back to this ground that connects back to this negative, not 100. If there's 100 ways back or there's 2 ways back, it's wrong. It should be one, and it should be only used in emergencies. Okay. Enough for that soapbox. What am I doing? Oh, I see. I got to go back over here. All right. I'm beginning to figure out the controls on this. Do you cover how to connect solar panels in series versus parallel? Yes, absolutely. We will go into great depth on solar and parallel panels in the class. We will have an entire section on hooking up panels, how to measure their voltage, how to check their voltage and short circuit voltage, how to check their output, how to great detail in that section of it. Absolutely. I'm going to try to go a little bit faster here, so if I skip something and you have a question, please let me know. I did not realize that this is, it's already coming up on, it's only 6 o'clock. It's only a couple hours. Okay, will I need to hire an electrician at any point? I am not going to say no to this question. The answer is some of us are very comfortable with what we're doing, and some of us need to have an electrician to do things. I would say do not do anything you are not comfortable with and not absolutely sure that you can do it. I am not giving you professional advice on how to do something. I'm telling you how I would do it and what I would do and what I think is the right way. If it was my system, what I would do. That doesn't mean you don't need to talk to an electrician. Some things, sometimes an electrician is your best choice. So I don't know any other better way to answer that other than if you're not sure, please don't electrocute yourself. Let's talk or let's get an electrician involved. Can I use parts I already have or should I start fresh? No, absolutely use the parts you already have. Let's figure out what kind of system you want to build. Let's see which pieces work. Like I was saying, the pieces like this Victron over here, these things adapt to 12 volt, 24, 48 volt. They do everything. Now the question is, are they the right size for the system that you want, for the system that you need? Or can we work them in to temporarily allow you to expand? Most solar systems, this is the coolest part about DIY solar, is they're expandable, they're growable. There is no fixed way you have to configure them. There's nothing that says you have to start this way or you have to do it this way. Are there things that make it better or worse? Sure. There's things that make it better or worse. But do you have to? No, you do not have to. And we can figure out what those are as we go along. All right. Will you show real builds inside the class like the shed or the RV setup? Yes, they will all be real builds. They're only theoretical ones are the ones that are truly outside the norm. And is there a money-back guarantee if you don't finish the class? There is not a money-back guarantee if you don't finish the class, but there is a 30-day money-back guarantee that if the class isn't what you thought it was, if you're unhappy, as long as you have not used the time that you need, the hour, the consultation hour or stuff like that, or if you find out that it just isn't what you want or whatever, there is a 30-day money-back guarantee for that. Do you cover both grid-tied and off-grid systems? Yes, I will cover both grid-tied and off-grid. What is the biggest mistake that you see new builders make? Okay, this is actually a really good question, and I actually put a poll out about this. And I'm going to display the results of this poll. Coming to that question. Give me just a second here. Got the wrong feeds up on the screen. There we go. I would also say if hooking into a residential, confirm all utilities if remaining connected in local code requirements. Absolutely. You want to make sure that whatever code there in most jurisdictions, if you can connect things, some things yourself, other things completely and totally require you to have inspections, code enforcement involved, so on and so forth. You need to check with your local restrictions and local jurisdiction on what you can do, what you can't do, and what is involved. That's kind of why I like the off-grid scenarios a lot better, or I like what I call off-grid, where I basically all I am is a battery backup and like an UPS machine, not necessarily in feeding back to the grid or anything like that. So, but yes, absolutely, Sam, you are 100% correct. Okay. Biggest mistake. So this one I actually prepared a slide for because I actually did a poll on this and I asked what is the most common. I was kind of stunned by the actual results, to be honest with you. Let me see if I can get this up on the screen here. Uh, Put that in back on the screen. We're back. Sorry about that. Wrong button. And then this one. So this was the poll that I ran, and I want to show you that the correct answer, believe it or not, is the 9% answer. 9% of you got this right, that using wire that is too small for the amperage that you're running is the most common mistake. And anyone who's watched my live streams or any of my videos hears me say this over and over and over. What is the most common mistake? Wires, connectors, lugs, always. It's always the same problem. A lot of the equipment is inspected and tested, has safety features and stuff, but the wires you connect, the lugs you put on, the connectors you put there, if you don't do them right or you don't size your wire right, you can cause huge problems. 29% thinks that running the wrong battery bank and it'll run down too fast is the hugest problem that they make. It's not. It's the connections to those battery banks. 28% that not matching the panel voltage to the charge controller is a mistake. Sure, it happens, but it's not. It's the connections to those panels that is the problem. Bad MC4 connectors, using mixed brands, not hooking them up right, not connecting them right. That's the problem. Forgetting fuses, breakers, and grounding. As we just talked about with grounding, of course this is a problem, but it's not the key problem. The key problem is the wire connections to the grounding, forgetting to hook up the grounding, using the wrong fuses, not having the right lugs and wires connected to the fuses where the fuse pops before the wire does. Instead, you'll have people size the wire too small and fry the wire, and the fuse is still sitting there completely untouched and unpopped because it was sized wrong. The wires are wrong. The connections are bad or whatnot. It is always the wire and the connections that are the problem of newbies getting into this industry. Keep that in mind when you're hooking everything up, to check and double check all of your connections and connectors and that kind of stuff, because it is going to be where almost all of the mistakes are made. All right. I think I've got a couple more questions here, and this will be go into the next piece here. I can't move the question. Well, what did I just do? I think I broke it. Give me just a second. I got to put those questions back up. Questions. Definitely broke it. Well, then that was, oh, you know what? That was the end of the questions. Haha. Okay, that's what's going on. I missed it completely. Um, so that was kind of the questions and what goes on and a lot of the things that people I already knew had sent in. Thank you for all of those questions. I really appreciate it. Um, Making sure I didn't miss any messages here, nothing else there. So let's do a little bit of a recap here. Um, Solar isn't really that complicated if you really have a good plan. And that's what the class is designed to do, is to give you the plan, to give you the diagrams and all of that. All of that said, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to continue on my YouTube channel. I'm going to continue producing you guys video. I'm continue to do it. So if you're getting what you need, stick with it. If you want some help, you want some additional help, you want to expand what you're doing, you want to know how to do certain things, and you want some hands-on class that walks you through it step by step, then the class is the right thing. I can include a QR code here for the class. Was supposed to turn this on a couple of times during the thing, and I completely forgot. QR code is for those that are watching this on the TV. If you're just watching it and you want the link, it's right down below. It's right in the comments. It's also the tagged in the first comment down below. You can always go into the mattmansolar.com/class. That's the registration page if you're interested in being one of the founding members and getting 50% off to the class. It will launch on January 1st. And if it fills up between now and then, or we make it to that time frame, either one, there is a limited amount of time simply because there is a limited amount of hours that I have available to do the one-on-one sessions and to make sure I can review plans and I can give everybody the good quality service that you expect when you join a class like this. So class size is limited, but it is significant, so we should be okay. Don't forget the replay is available of this entire live stream today and on all of the class courses, and every one of them you will be able to go back and watch and replay those also. I'm trying to read my notes here and see what I was trying to say, but it doesn't tell me. Anyway, that is, oh, one, that note has in the wrong spot. It was basically supposed to be about the batteries at the very beginning, and I'm going to just skip it and we'll cover it in another week. I've got another question here. Let's grab that. Daniel says, how can I talk to you about what I have to do? There are a couple of different ways. One, if you join the class, you can always talk to me there. You can send me an email. I can do a limited amount of support there. And then you can always schedule a one-on-one consultation on the website, mattmansolar.com. And that will give you one-on-one time where we can sit down and go over your plans. And usually I like to get some of that in an email and stuff, and so I can go through it and make the best of your time when we have it. That's the most productive. If you're looking at long-term building a system and putting it together, and you're not just looking for a little short, 1-hour session with me, the solar class is by far the best option, and that is exactly why I made the solar classes for exactly this thing. You want to build something, you want to adapt to a solar system, but you don't know what it is. You need some help with plans. You need to get some plans. You've got some parts and you don't know how to put them together. That's what the solar class is all about. Otherwise, if you can find the pieces that you need on the videos, they're all a lot of the content that we talk about is there. The problem is it's not arranged in that step-by-step thing, which is why I'm devising the class. But either one of those will work just fine. You can talk to anyone that's done the one-on-one sessions with me. Those are usually really super good. I go into great detail of exactly what you're looking for, ask you what you're looking for, and we talk about it involved in detail. Oh, here we go. Okay, thanks, Daniel. Of course, you're welcome. Anytime. Feel free to ask any questions. I'd be glad to help. I have to build my camper fifth wheel toy hauler. It was 12-volt system that I broke it down, not sufficient to hold up power I'll email you. Yeah, that's a great one. I do. I do. Mine is exactly the same thing. It's a fifth wheel, 42 footer. I upgraded all to 48 volt batteries, and you exactly the same system it sounds like. And I've helped quite a few people put theirs together recently and build theirs out also. Did you talk to Battery Evo? Oh, yes, I sent them an email, so I'm waiting, and I hope to get some stuff back. I did get, matter of fact, I think I got a battery from Battery Evo this week. You know, DMT Mind, uh, I think I actually have a battery from, I think it's one of those that's being held up on the solar shed right now. I don't remember exactly if it was company, but Battery Evo, but I'll definitely, did she say that? I don't know. I'm going to write that down and go back and double check, but I think I have. They were in California, right? And I just got a battery from someone over there, and I thought it was Battery Evo. Now that I think about it, I don't know if it is or not. I'll go back and check, though. You bet. Daniel, you're absolutely welcome. I don't know, what time is it getting to be? 6:15. All right. I think that's it for this week. I encourage all of you to basically keep charging. Did you get into? Oh, the Kongs. That's what that one was about. No, I haven't heard back from them yet. Oh yeah. You know what? And maybe I did. Yeah, I forgot all about that. The Kongs. I did talk about the Jingjang Ying. Now I can't remember the name of it. The Look at my notes here. Jingjang 560 amp hour 48 volt batteries, and the same ones at the Kongs. They're huge. They're taking over the world. They really are. It's going to be really cool. No, I will hunt them down and find out. I'm pretty sure I wrote them, and I think, I'm not sure if it's the same company. I got another company that contacted me this week about batteries from California. It was a very similar name, but I don't think it was the Kongs because I would have remembered that battery. I remember that conversation we had. But I'll follow up on it. I didn't forget about it. I did have an email out with them. I did talk with them probably the Monday after we talked last time, but I don't think I heard back from them yet. So I will get with them and we will make sure that we get it taken care of. Anyway, hopefully, I am going to give everyone that is still here a special. Um, just got an Outlaw 195 Ginny welder. It does AC welding, and I'm wondering if I can charge DC battery directly to my Kong. The Ginny is from Harbor Freight. Um, I would suggest that you use something like a charge verter that will clean up any generator. And I don't know if the Outlaw 195 is that dirty or clean. Outlaw 195 dual watt voltage inverter welder AC. Let me just see. Yeah, let me show you what I'm seeing here. Yeah, is that showing up right? Still learning to use my new computer here. Let me see if I can find it. There we go. Oh, it is not showing up. There, now it's showing up. Okay. So this is the one you're talking about, the Outlaw. I think it's this one here. It's the Harbor Freight. 6,000 watt, I'm assuming. AC arc welder. Dual voltage, engine driven inverter arc welder. AC generator with weld kit and 295 DC. Wow, that's interesting. So that has DC output as well as AC output. Of course, the pictures didn't load. If I have an EG4 charge inverter, I don't know if I can take DC directly. No, the charge inverter cannot take the DC directly, but it can certainly take that AC and pump it in. That will not be a problem. I would set it to about 80% of max capacity. So here you're talking about, there it goes. Here you're talking about 6,000 watts of AC power. So 80% of that would be somewhere around the max of the charge inverter, somewhere around 5,000 watts. I would set it to 5,000 watts and let it go through the 220 charge that way. That would at least get that. The DC, the only way I know to do the DC is for the DC to DC type thing like this, um, but I don't know of one that's going to do anything with that amount unless you can set the specific voltage and all of that. That's the real question there. Um, See if I can get to that question. I got to switch back to the other screen in order to do it. Let me just go over here. Um, that's what I thought. I just wondered if I could take the DC so I am not wasting power in conversion. Yeah, yeah. If you can set the voltage specifically to an exact voltage, so that you can charge it that way, but then you still got to worry about the cutoff. But if you set the voltage, I don't think shouldn't be a problem. But I don't know if you can set the voltage. It says 20 to 195 DC output, but it doesn't say what voltage. I would have to look at it a little bit more. You can dial the DC amps for your gun, but I'm scared. Yeah, I would be scared too. I think I would just use the AC. Um, it's inverter power, which would, yeah, I think I would just use the AC. Since it's a generator, you're not going to have a, yeah, I don't know. I would be uncomfortable with that unless I was use some isolated DC to DC charger. But I don't even know of any of those that you can use for 48 volt. If it was 12 volt, you can get the Victron's got those cool DC 50 amp and 160 amp DC to DCs. But for 48 volt, yeah, I don't know of any. I think I would be nervous too. I think I would just go with the 220 and use it that way to be safe without really reading the specs and understanding exactly what is it outputting and how clean and dirty it is. Yeah, that would make me a little nervous. Although you might be able to put it in, you know what you might be able to do? 20 to 195 amp DC output. You might be able to put it into a charge controller. Something big, like this, where you've got the the charge controller. This can take in 250 amps or 250 volts, output 100 amps, and this would certainly make it safe for your battery. Now the problem is this is going to cost you more than the charge inverter and the loss of the power, but it would certainly work. I've seen a lot of people do that before. So that would definitely work, because you can just put it in a charge converter, because that's what it's going to do. It's going to take DC power out of your panels. It's going to convert that to the DC panel. It matches your battery and make it safe, and it's isolated, so it should be fine. Yeah. Okay. I think I can find Ginny 9000. I can't combine them, so I feel confident go Ginny same cause. Yeah, no, it's the charge controller. Yeah, that's the way to do it. I don't know what the voltage is coming out, but something as big as this one here. Just find the right one that matches it, and I would definitely go with a good brand, so that you know that you're not going to fry it out. But I'll bet that would work just fine. That's because they use those on the car ones when it pulls the voltage out of the car alternators and pumps it in and then charges your battery. I've seen people hook those up with the charge controller that way too. That's the answer. You're right. Okay, good. Hopefully that's hopefully that takes care of it. I didn't have the messages on any of those, did I? So we started there. And we're here. Thanks for the idea. You are more than welcome. Glad I could help. Glad we came up with a good solution, to be honest with you. At first, I was like a little puzzled, thinking, oh, how am I going to do this? And then, duh, the charge controller. So exactly what it's for, DC to DC. Okay, and then you get the intelligence of the actual charging in the right profile, too. So wonderful. Okay, all right, everybody. I encourage you to take a look at the solar class. I'm going to play I've got a video for you that has not released yet. It'll come out on the channel tomorrow, and you are going to see a sneak peek of it. But so enjoy. Thank you for watching. Thanks to all the subscribers. Thanks to all the members. I don't even know how many subscribers are we at now. Let's take a look. Let's do a little bit. We are at 14,591 subscribers. Thank you for all of your support. It has been wonderful, and I really appreciate you so much. And as soon as the fireworks finish and the celebrations are over, I'm going to show you the video that I promised, and then we will be done for the day. And I got to figure out how I was supposed to do this. $180 solar shed to the solar shed version 2 that had the solar 12-volt solar system built into it, to an RV 48-volt system, a DIY battery, or even my wife's coffee trailer setup. The one thing I keep hearing over and over from you is that I want to do this myself, but I don't know where to start. So I built something for you. I'm calling it simply the DIY Solar Class. It's a self-paced, approximately 12-week step-by-step course that shows you how you can design, wire, and power your own solar system the right way, the safe way, and without wasting a whole bunch of money the first time around buying things that you don't need. Learn from my experience. Each week, the curriculum focuses on one of the components in a solar system, either that be panels, batteries, inverters, wiring, real builds, real life situations, real designs, with all the details, with diagrams and videos so that you can follow along. I built this class because I remember when I first started how confusing my first solar system was. I didn't understand amps, I didn't understand volts, I didn't understand wire sizes. I understood electricity a bit, but fuse ratings confused me. Different types of fuses confused me. There was so much information overload that putting it all together with a random selection of videos out on the internet was very difficult. So this class is intended to put it all together. It takes everything that I've learned from dozens and dozens of builds and all the mistakes that I've made along the way, and there have been a bunch of them, and turns it into one complete roadmap that you can follow step by step and get the information you need. So if you've watched my videos or wanted to build your own system, this is how we can do it together. Let me give you an idea of what is included in this class. So you're going to get a step-by-step video lessons for each part of the solar system. Printable diagrams and parts list. Either you can follow them exactly, or we can work together to modify them to meet just your specific needs. We'll do a live Q&A session every other week just for the class so that everyone gets all of their questions answered. I've also included a one-on-one call to go over and to review your designs or just talk about what your solar system is involved and make sure that you're comfortable and have all the questions you need in that one-on-one setting. Not only that, but you're going to get lifetime access to all this content as I update it as we go along. so that you can go at your own pace, come back at any time to refresh, and when I add new content, you already got it. You can always come back and pick up where you left off or rewatch the entire course anytime you want. If you've been waiting to build your own solar system, if you're looking for the perfect gift for someone who wants to build a solar system, if you want to put solar in your shed or on your RV or take your house off grid, this class is for you. This is why I made it, to give you that one-on-one help to make sure that you do it right and you do it safely. Founding members right now, between now and the December 31st, get 50% off the class. Starting January 1st, the class goes to full price. So right now, if you sign up, you get it for half price. That's a lifetime membership. You'll never be taken out of the class. You can join today at mattmansolar.com/class or click the links below. Either way, I'm going to keep teaching on YouTube. I enjoy it way too much. But if you want to go deeper, if you want to know exactly what you need for your system, this class is for you. If this sounds like what you've been looking for, head over to mattmansolar/class or just scan the QR code on the screen to grab your spot. Founding members get 50% off through December 31st, and we kick things off on New Year's Day. I'd really love to see some familiar names from the comments inside and help you design, build, and update your system step by step. The link's below, and it's also pinned in the top comment. See you inside. Over the last couple of months, I have shown you a lot of different solar builds. We have done everything from a $180 solar shed to the solar shed version 2 that had the solar 12-volt solar system built into it, to an RV 48-volt system, a DIY battery, or even my wife's coffee trailer setup. The one thing I keep hearing over and over from you is that I want to do this myself, but I don't know where to start. So I built something for you. I'm calling it simply the DIY Solar Class. It's a self-paced, approximately 12-week step-by-step course that shows you how you can design, wire, and power your own solar system the right way, the safe way, and without wasting a whole bunch of money the first time around buying things that you don't need. Learn from my experience. Each week, the curriculum focuses on one of the components in a solar system, either that be panels, batteries, inverters, wiring, real builds, real life situations, real designs, with all the details, with diagrams and videos so that you can follow along. I built this class because I remember when I first started how confusing my first solar system was. I didn't understand amps, I didn't understand volts, I didn't understand wire sizes. I understood electricity a bit, but fuse ratings confused me. Different types of fuses confused me. There was so much information overload that putting it all together with a random selection of videos out on the internet was very difficult. So this class is intended to put it all together. It takes everything that I've learned from dozens and dozens of builds and all the mistakes that I've made along the way, and there have been a bunch of them, and turns it into one complete roadmap that you can follow step by step and get the information you need. So if you've watched my videos or wanted to build your own system, this is how we can do it together. Let me give you an idea of what is included in this class. So you're going to get a step-by-step video lessons for each part of the solar system. Printable diagrams and parts list. Either you can follow them exactly, or we can work together to modify them to meet just your specific needs. We'll do a live Q&A session every other week just for the class so that everyone gets all of their questions answered. I've also included a one-on-one call to go over and to review your designs or just talk about what your solar system is involved and make sure that you're comfortable and have all the questions you need in that one-on-one setting. Not only that, but you're going to get lifetime access to all this content as I update it as we go along so that you can go at your own pace, come back at any time to refresh, and when I add new content, you already got it. You can always come back and pick up where you left off or rewatch the entire course anytime you want. If you've been waiting to build your own solar system, if you're looking for the perfect gift for someone who wants to build a solar system, if you want to put solar in your shed or on your RV or take your house off grid, this class is for you. This is why I made it, to give you that one-on-one help to make sure that you do it right and you do it safely. Founding members right now, between now and the December 31st, get 50% off the class. Starting January 1st, the class goes to full price. So right now, if you sign up, you get it for half price. That's a lifetime membership. You'll never be taken out of the class. You can join today at mattmansolar.com/class or click the links below. Either way, I'm going to keep teaching on YouTube. I enjoy it way too much. But if you want to go deeper, if you want to know exactly what you need for your system, this class is for you. If this sounds like what you've been looking for, head over to mattmansolar/class or just scan the QR code on the screen to grab your spot. Founding members get 50% off through December 31st, and we kick things off on New Year's Day. I'd really love to see some familiar names from the comments inside and help you design, build, and update your system step by step. The link's below, and it's also pinned in the top comment. See you inside. Over the last couple of months, I have shown you a lot of different solar builds. We have done everything from a $180 solar shed to the solar shed version 2 that had the solar 12-volt solar system built into it, to an RV 48-volt system, a DIY battery, or even my wife's coffee trailer setup. The one thing I keep hearing over and over from you is that I want to do this myself, but I don't know where to start. So I built something for you. I'm calling it simply the DIY Solar Class. It's a self-paced, approximately 12-week step-by-step course that shows you how you can design, wire, and power your own solar system the right way, the safe way, and without wasting a whole bunch of money the first time around buying things that you don't need. Learn from my experience. Each week, the curriculum focuses on one of the components in a solar system, either that be panels, batteries, inverters, wiring, real builds, real life situations, real designs, with all the details, with diagrams and videos so that you can follow along. I built this class because I remember when I first started how confusing my first solar system was. I didn't understand amps. I didn't understand volts. I didn't understand wire sizes. I understood electricity a bit, but fuse ratings confused me. Different types of fuses confused me. There was so much information overload that putting it all together with a random selection of videos out on the internet was very difficult. So this class is intended to put it all together. It takes everything that I've learned from dozens and dozens of builds and all the mistakes that I've made along the way, and there have been a bunch of them, and turns it into one complete roadmap that you can follow step by step and get the information you need. So if you've watched my videos or wanted to build your own system, this is how we can do it together. Let me give you an idea of what is included in this class. So you're going to get a step-by-step video lessons for each part of the solar system. Printable diagrams and parts list. Either you can follow them exactly, or we can work together to modify them to meet just your specific needs. We'll do a live Q&A session every other week just for the class so that everyone gets all of their questions answered. I've also included a one-on-one call to go over and to review your designs or just talk about what your solar system is involved and make sure that you're comfortable and have all the questions you need in that one-on-one setting. Not only that, but you're going to get lifetime access to all this content as I update it as we go along so that you can go at your own pace, come back at any time to refresh, And when I add new content, you already got it. You can always come back and pick up where you left off or rewatch the entire course anytime you want. If you've been waiting to build your own solar system, if you're looking for the perfect gift for someone who wants to build a solar system, if you want to put solar in your shed or on your RV or take your house off grid, this class is for you. This is why I made it, to give you that one-on-one help to make sure that you do it right and you do it safely. Founding members right now, between now and the December 31st, get 50% off the class. Starting January 1st, the class goes to full price. So right now, if you sign up, you get it for half price. That's a lifetime membership. You'll never be taken out of the class. You can join today at mattmansolar.com/class or click the links below. Either way, I'm going to keep teaching on YouTube. I enjoy it way too much. But if you want to go deeper, if you want to know exactly what you need for your system, this class is for you. If this sounds like what you've been looking for, head over to mattmansolar/class or just scan the QR code on the screen to grab your spot. Founding members get 50% off through December 31st, and we kick things off on New Year's Day. I'd really love to see some familiar names from the comments inside and help you design, build, and update your system step by step. The link's below, and it's also pinned in the top comment. See you inside. Over the last couple of months, I have shown you a lot of different solar builds. We have done everything from a $180 solar shed to the solar shed version 2 that had the solar 12-volt solar system built into it, to an RV 48-volt system, a DIY battery, or even my wife's coffee trailer setup. The one thing I keep hearing over and over from you is that I want to do this myself, but I don't know where to start. So I built something for you. I'm calling it simply the DIY Solar Class. It's a self-paced, approximately 12-week step-by-step course that shows you how you can design, wire, and power your own solar system the right way, the safe way, and without wasting a whole bunch of money the first time around buying things that you don't need. Learn from my experience. Each week, the curriculum focuses on one of the components in a solar system, either that be panels, batteries, inverters, wiring, real builds, real life situations, real designs, with all the details, with diagrams and videos so that you can follow along. I built this class because I remember when I first started how confusing my first solar system was. I didn't understand amps. I didn't understand volts. I didn't understand wire sizes. I understood electricity a bit, but fuse ratings confused me. Different types of fuses confused me. There was so much information overload that putting it all together with a random selection of videos out on the internet was very difficult. So this class is intended to put it all together. It takes everything that I've learned from dozens and dozens of builds and all the mistakes that I've made along the way, and there have been a bunch of them, and turns it into one complete roadmap that you can follow step by step and get the information you need. So if you've watched my videos or wanted to build your own system, this is how we can do it together. Let me give you an idea of what is included in this class. So you're going to get a step-by-step video lessons for each part of the solar system. Printable diagrams and parts list. Either you can follow them exactly, or we can work together to modify them to meet just your specific needs. We'll do a live Q&A session every other week just for the class so that everyone gets all of their questions answered. I've also included a one-on-one call to go over and to review your designs or just talk about what your solar system is involved and make sure that you're comfortable and have all the questions you need in that one-on-one setting. Not only that, but you're going to get lifetime access to all this content as I update it as we go along so that you can go at your own pace, come back at any time to refresh, and when I add new content, you already got it. You can always come back and pick up where you left off or rewatch the entire course anytime you want. If you've been waiting to build your own solar system, if you're looking for the perfect gift for someone who wants to build a solar system, if you want to put solar in your shed or on your RV or take your house off grid, this class is for you. This is why I made it, to give you that one-on-one help to make sure that you do it right and you do it safely. Founding members right now, between now and the December 31st, get 50% off the class. Starting January 1st, the class goes to full price. So right now, if you sign up, you get it for half price. That's a lifetime membership. You'll never be taken out of the class. You can join the day at mattmansolar.com/class or click the links below. Either way, I'm going to keep teaching on YouTube. I enjoy it way too much. But if you want to go deeper, if you want to know exactly what you need for your system, this class is for you. If this sounds like what you've been looking for, head over to mattmansolar/class or just scan the QR code on the screen to grab your spot. Founding members get 50% off through December 31st, and we kick things off on New Year's Day. I'd really love to see some familiar names from the comments inside and help you design, build, and update your system step by step. The link's below, and it's also pinned in the top comment. See you inside.